is migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI defraud.
How did the debate go between Trump versus Kamala Harris and the ABC moderators? Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters because truth conquers. Okay, the debate is done. The second presidential debate of the season involving a second presidential candidate for the Democrats who was not elected to be their nominee. But let's not talk about that because doing so would threaten the very democracy that we live in, right? So how did the debate go? I think from a conservative perspective, what I felt and what I saw fairly universally is we're disappointed. Yeah, it didn't go as well as we hoped. Now, don't get me wrong. From my perspective, Trump still clearly won the debate. And I'll qualify that based on he came across very well when he was speaking about his policies, versus Kamala was speaking not about policies, just vagaries, not actually saying information. She wasn't answering questions. And Trump, when it came to dominant energy, I think he was definitely ahead of her there. So while he won the debate from my perspective, a lot of us were hoping for a thrashing, and we didn't get that. And that's okay. I'll just say this. This debate was for idiots. What do I mean by that? I believe the only people, for the most part, at this point, where this debate actually mattered were idiots. Why? Because I think people like you and I, we're not tuning into this debate saying like, well, this is going to influence how we're going to vote. No, if you've been paying attention to Trump, you've been paying attention to Kamala and the DNC and the invisible people that run all that, like your mind's already made up. And if you're a Kamala supporter, like first off, welcome to existence. You've only been existing supporting her for like a month after they told you to, but nonetheless, you're gonna vote for her. Maybe you have Trump derangement syndrome, maybe you just love communism, you're gonna vote for her. So why I say this debate only mattered for idiots is because you would have to have your head in the sand at this point to not know who stands for what. But of course, there are some idiots, and I use that term lovingly, whose minds are going to be influenced by a debate like this. So for starters, I think the biggest thing about this debate that needs to be highlighted is the moderators were clearly against Trump. I would have been shocked if that wasn't the case. ABC News, they were the ones that had the kind of mothership airing the debate. They're against Trump. So we know, okay, they're stacking the cards in Kamala's favor to influence the idiots who don't know who they're going to vote for. And I'm sure there's some bright people in there, and there's probably some idiots too. So people who are going to outsource what they think about the candidates to how they're presented by ABC. And it was clear that they were for Kamala, the moderators, and against Trump. Case in point, they would interrupt Trump constantly. They would fact check him, insulting to human intelligence, and they were not fact checking him accurately. The very idea that these debate moderators are on some sort of all-knowing high horse, like any fact checker, where they have the facts above all other peasant humans, is just absurd. But nonetheless, they would routinely discount what Trump said by fact-checking him. That's incorrect. We fact-check it, President Trump. And Kamala Harris, she had a number of blatant lies, never fact-checked once. She would have lies about, well, President Trump, he wants Agenda 2025 to be in place. President Trump has previously said he has nothing to do with it. He's never read it. He doesn't support it. Yet Kamala can get away with making Trump look bad to the idiots because the moderators won't correct her, and she knew it. Just as an example of this, here's a clip of Kamala Harris lying about what Trump said about the Charlottesville neo-Nazis if you roll the clock back handful of years, and then you'll see the reality of what he actually said. And she was not fact-checked.
Then, at the time, say, there were fine people on each side.
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
So Kamala Harris presents it as Trump was saying the neo-Nazis, they had some very fine people there. And President Trump's actual words were they should be condemned. Ooh, fact-checking the fact-checkers can be a lot of work, but I'm here for it. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first, as a free thinker, I'm always interested in learning what people think. But something I found is people's algorithms and news sources tends to heavily influence what they think. That's why I think bringing complete transparency to the news that we get, where it comes from, what their bias is essential if you want to be a free thinker. And that's why I love Ground News. And you can check out ground.news/JP. For example, with RFK Jr. recently endorsing President Trump, that is dominating the news cycles. But you can see the left outlets have a very different perspective than outlets on the right or the center. Check out this headline that's going around. RFK Jr. decapitated a dead whale and brought it home, daughter said. So if you look at the coverage distribution, it is predominantly the left that is pushing this decapitated whale story about RFK Jr. And we can use our minds to reason to believe maybe the left media outlets are doing that to get people to think less favorably about the Trump-Kennedy association. And every day, Ground News collects thousands of different articles around the web on news stories that you're interested in, but they bring them to you with transparency. For example, on the RFK Jr. decapitated whale story, you can see the coverage details. Of the 18 total news sources on this dead whale story, you can see 11 of them are on the left, just 1 on the right and 3 in the center. And that gives a total bias distribution of 73% left. And that's good to know, because if that's where your news is coming from, that's what you're being influenced to believe. Another feature of Ground News that empowers us to see what some media might be trying to hide from us is the blind spots feature, which means Ground News finds the stories that the left just aren't covering. For example, RFK Jr. announces he will actively campaign with Donald Trump. That's huge news, empowering for the right, and you can see that has 0% coverage on the left. In other words, it tells you what the left doesn't want you to know about. And it'll also give you blind spots on the right media outlets. There just are less right media outlets and less blind spots on the right, but it provides the full picture. I love Ground News, and I think you will too, because our news is only as good as the source it comes from and their bias. And if we don't have full transparency of that, we don't know if it's good news or bad news. To bring full transparency to where you get your news from and wake up to what's really going on instead of being fooled while you're trying to inform yourself, go to ground.news/JP or hit the QR code here and take advantage of my link so you can save 40% off unlimited access, which is the subscription on Ground News that I use myself because I want to be informed, not fooled. Check it out. Now back to the video. Next up, and this is a little bit of a surprise, this is a little bit of a conspiracy theory, which to you and I does not mean it's false, and it doesn't mean it's true. It means here's something to think about. On this view, take a look at Kamala Harris's earrings. She has them on her ears. President Trump got shot in this ear, but she's got earrings on. She lives a well-protected life. And then in a flurry being posted all around Twitter last night as the debate was happening, shows these Nova Audio earrings. Now, part of the debate is they weren't allowed to have earpieces so that campaign strategists can be in the back telling Kamala, here's what you should say about this. Here's a good point about that. So she can appear to be brighter than she actually is. So the theory is she was wearing these Nova earrings that function as an audio earpiece.
Nova's H1 audio earrings is the world's first wireless earphones made with real pearls.
Okay. But having an open mind, the Twitter community notes, which is like fact-checking light, say this: the earring depicted in the advert is not a completed product and is part of a Kickstarter campaign. So let's just say the Vice President of the United States, she might have access to products that aren't on the market. And the community notes go on to say the Vice President's earrings are translucent pearl earrings sold by Tiffany & Co. First off, how do they know? Second off, you just heard on the video, the Nova audio earrings are also pearls. Did I find this helpful? No, I didn't. No. Take that, Twitter. So that's just a little food for thought. Was Kamala cheating? You know, before the debate, she had her podium lowered so that she would appear taller relative to it, because she's 5'4", like a 5'4" communist. President Trump is 6'3", I believe, American. So we already know, you know, they're doing these manipulative tactics. Is it beyond them to cheat by using a wireless audio earpiece that is disguised as an earring? It's not beyond them. Did they do it? I don't know. But these are questions being raised. And by the way, I am certainly not the only person on God's green earth that saw clear as day these moderators are clearly against Trump, clearly for Kamala. Let's hear from RFK on it.
Fortunately, we had moderators who were clearly biased, who were constantly fact-checking Donald Trump. None of these kind of whoppers that the vice president was saying, and none of her failure to really explain that, answer that first question, that very, very critical first question. They simply sat there on the sidelines and allowed that to pass.
Yeah, but we'll just sit here and listen to Trump declare what he said to be factually false. We'll ask Kamala a question, she won't answer it, and we won't press her to answer it. And here's a quick snippet of Megyn Kelly's perspective on the moderators. She was a little bit pissed.
I'm disgusted. I'm ashamed of those moderators at ABC News.
I am too. Am I surprised? No. Am I disgusted? Am I ashamed of them? Yes, but not surprised. Now let's get to some highlights where Kamala looked really good. Okay, there are none. So let's get to some highlights where Trump looked really good. This is what I believe to be the greatest takedown, if you will, where President Trump is talking about the border crisis. Kamala is sitting there pretending she hasn't been in office, hasn't been the border czar, and he calls her out to do something about it, not tomorrow, not the next day, but right now. And watch Kamala's body language the whole time. She's just trying to discount President Trump, looks all condescending, making her faces with too much saggy skin on her stupid face. Check it out.
I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate, because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing.
Moderator has been trying to interrupt him because Trump's on a good roll.
Many people, unlike J6.
And then there's some others, but let's get to another quick one where Trump used Kamala's words of, excuse me, I'm talking here. That went very viral. She didn't come across very well when she was back in the, 2020 vice presidential debate with Mike Pence. Watch him use it. It's hilarious.
Big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
I love me some President Trump. And the lies and hypocrisy from Kamala were very obvious for, I think, many of us. I have watched so many clips of her in recent times talking about the necessity of confiscating guns. She calls it a gun buyback program. That's, you confiscate citizens' guns and give them money for their guns. That's gun confiscation, just so you know. She's been all about weapons of war ban, assault weapons ban, confiscating guns. There's no question. I didn't say she said that. I've listened to her say that. So in this clip, you'll see her lying, talking about how she's never talked about guns, and she admits she's a gun owner. Wow, liar and hypocrite all in one go? Pretty good.
What we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made.
Maybe current president. Is he still in control? I don't know. Ask Q.
Made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
1984, the person telling the truth, you got to accuse them of lying. Perfect. You're doing great. You say the lies, you be the hypocrite, accuse the truth teller of being the liar. Got it. It's in the playbook you've been going by. Now, before we close by getting to what I think is the greatest debate summary that I've seen so far, let's take a look at this. After the debate last night, I put up a poll on YouTube with 16,000 people voting thus far in the past 10 hours. Here's the question. Who won the debate? The communist or the American? And this poll, and we got to trust the polls, right? 87% of the 16,000 people voted the American won the debate. 13% said the communist won the debate. So I think it's clear. Granted, a little bit of a biased cross-section. This is my audience. But nonetheless, very clear. The people have spoken. We, the people, have spoken. President Trump won the debate. Now, let's take a look at a very brilliant debate summary published on Twitter by Patrick Bet-David. PBD comes in hot, saying, thoughts on tonight's debate. During the Biden-Trump debate, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash interrupted or corrected Trump not a single time. Cool. Not one single time. Tonight, ABC moderators David and Lindsay, whoever they are, interrupted or corrected Trump 11 times. Tonight was 3-1, 3-1. Kamala did her best to agitate and try to get under Trump's skin by bringing up certain lies. Project 2025, mentioned that. She claimed he said he will terminate the Constitution. It's not even a believable lie, Kamala. Misusing bloodbath. Charlottesville, January 6th. He wants to be a dictator on day one. Donald Trump left us. The worst unemployment, the worst pandemic in the last century. Trump followed through to try to get under her skin by way of they left tariffs. Trump left on China for 3.5 years. She hates Israel. She doesn't have a plan. It's like 4 sentences. I was going to send her a MAGA hat. Her father is a Marxist. He taught her well. Her vice president pick, abortion in the 9th month. Her boss, he spends most of his time at the beach. They didn't fire anyone. I'm sorry, I'm talking now. Power move. She is Joe Biden's. She is crooked. Her highlight of the evening, and I love Patrick Bet-David because he is open-minded. He loves to be balanced. By the way, what the actual balance is, it's never always just like, oh, it's perfectly balanced. This is like, what was the balance of the debate? So he'll call it like he sees it, whatever that was. He gives her highlights of the evening. Abortion topic. She was able to articulate that very well. Her downfall, the economy. You could tell she doesn't know much about the economy. She seemed nervous. His highlights, Trump's highlights. Economy. His track record with no war when he was president. 3. He challenged her to leave the debate stage and go to D.C. to sign a bill to say the border is closed. His downfall. Eating dogs. So he's referencing Springfield, Ohio, where residents are reporting Haitians are eating their pets for food. Now, I've seen videos of these residents saying such things, yet PBD says that was a downfall of President Trump. And of course, the ABC moderators came on right away when he said what he saw residents say about Haitians are eating pets, and the moderators said, it's fact check, false. Biggest marketing mistake of the night. Kamala thought it was a good idea to say, I invite you to go to one of Trump's rallies. People leave the rally early. That's what Kamala said. PBD says that was a terrible idea when you have zero moral authority of not doing any rallies. Trump's marketing team can and will easily use that as a clip to drive to his rallies. I love that. Last observation about tonight's debate. Kamala kept looking at him, mocking him when he was speaking. Trump didn't look at her when he was speaking. Thought on moderators once it was done. When they asked if Kamala has met Putin, why didn't you follow up on the question? The people never got an answer. They went pretty soft on Kamala. A second point about the moderators. Even though they interrupt Trump consistently, they did better than expected. It's fair to say, but still. 3. David Murr did his best to be fair to both candidates. I give him an 8. I don't, but that's PBD. Number 4, Lindsay Davis asked one of the toughest questions of the night of Kamala, even though you can tell she didn't like Trump. I give her a 7. Number 5, for whatever reason, it seemed like Lindsay Davis went 20 or 30 minutes without asking a question. Not sure if ABC was behind it or if it was pre-planned. Not sure, but it was a bit weird. In conclusion, from PBD, Kamala sounded like a condescending aunt lecturing kids. Trump sounded like an angry patriot defending his nation. Either way, this was a better debate than Biden-Trump. So with that said, the debate results are in. This has been my recap. The idiots who are going to have their vote influenced by this debate and the few bright people that are paying attention, trying to get actual information from this biased debate, have some intel, and apparently Kamala's team is already requesting another debate. I think that's a mistake on their part. I sure hope Trump says yes, because I think Trump can do better, or I think Kamala did about as good as she could do in this debate. With that said, I'd love to see another debate, because I think another debate would most likely only give President Trump an opportunity to look even better. With that said, I would love to know what you thought about the Kamala Trump debate. Let me know in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you in our next video. But until then, my friends, keep thinking for yourself.